FPL managers, Game Week 31 is up, and Game Week 31 is going to be a blank game week. If you want to be among the top ranked managers for this game week, you should watch this video. But before we do get into it, I would like you to kindly hit that subscribe button. Let's grow this channel together. Like, share, comment. Let's know who your captain choice for Game Week 31 is going to be. So FPL managers Game Week 31 is here. It's a blank game week, which means we are going to have some teams blanking. You are going to have the likes of Arsenal blanking. You also have Wolves blanking. You have Manchester City and Crystal Palace all blanking for Game Week 31. And it's going to be very important to also note this. We could also have some teams blanking for Game Week 34 because of the FA Cup. So you'd also want to consider this, whether it's going to be a good time to use your wild card, because the number of teams as compared to Game Week 31 is going to be more. So for Game Week 34, you're going to have more EPL teams blanking than Game Week 31. So if you decide to use your free hits now, it means you could lose a very good opportunity of using it for Game Week 34. So you should consider that with your transfers now. So basically, we are having most managers have players from Arsenal, City, so it's not going to be so much of an issue for Game Week 31. But with Game Week 34, you could have the likes of Chelsea, you could have West Ham and some other teams also coming in the mix, which could be a different agenda altogether. So you'd want to take note of that, whether to use your free hits now or then. I suggest using it for Game Week 34 as it's going to be a better option. So let's get into blank Game Week 31. Let's see how the fixtures are coming in. Game Week 31, it starts with Bournemouth, they take on Manchester United. We have Brighton, they take on Liverpool. We have Fulham, they take on Burnley, Everton, Chelsea, then Leeds, Brentford. Then we also have Sunderland, they take on Newcastle, Aston Villa v West Ham. Then we end the round with Spurs, they take on Nottingham Forest. So it's going to be a very simple game week, very few fixtures. So you'd want to get your team very simple and very strategic. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago that you always want to consider your FDL as going to give you a good option it's going to give you a good idea of how the teams are going to look at, and you also consider that for about 2 to 3 game weeks. So if you saw this coming, you strategize your team around this fixture. So for the player stats, let's look at some of the most transferred in, and you realize that most of the players topping this chart are all players who will be playing for Game Week 31. We have a lot of the other players being taken out or being replaced by these players. So you have Gordon leading the charts from Newcastle. You have Malik Thiaw also in the mix thereabout. You have Bruno Fernandes. You have Senise. You have Joao Pedro. You have Szoboszlai. You have Virgil. You had Wilson, Thiago, Hall, Higo. All these players are leading the charts when it comes to most transferred in for Game Week 31, which means if you are not really sure of how to go about it, you could just come here, get a few of these players, and you should be good to go. You could get a midfielder in Gordon, you could get a midfielder in Bruno, you could get a defender in Senise, you could get a defender in Virgil, you could get an attacker or striker in Thiago, you could get an attacker in Higo, and this is that was just like a 6 selection. So you just need 5 players to make up your 11-man team, and you're good for the game week. So you could go through the most transferred in to know some of the players you could easily be getting, and always make sure to consider the FDL for the game week, see the kind of fixtures and their ICT, whether they are providing good returns. It's always not going to be that way, as you could have some differentials shining, but it's very important. If it follows the trends, then you know that you'll be amongst the top ranked managers. So that's how it's looking for the player stats, the FDL. You go through, you realize how it looks like. So for the team review, there's my team for Game Week 31. Very simple. I'm yet to use a chip, so we have about 7 to 8 game weeks more till the end of the season. So, and we have 4 chips. So you should, if you've not used your chips, you would want to start preparing. I am targeting using my free hits for game week 34. I'm contemplating when to use the others, but before game week 36, I should be done with most of them. As getting to the end of the season, most teams are a little bit diplomatic with their gameplay. Most teams will want to conserve energy because World Cup 2 is coming. They also want to keep clean sheets. They want to prevent unnecessary goals. The dynamics are very complicated when it gets to the end of the season as things are shaping up. Teams are fighting for the top 6, are fighting for European spots. Others are fighting relegation, so the battle could go either way. So you'd want to be very cautious using your chips during those periods. So try to use them early to get maximum advantage. For this is my team for game week 31. Just the one transfer. I took Semenyo out, brought Gordon in, and my team was basically I had almost all these players, so I didn't really have to do so much because I foresaw it and I made a few changes along the line to suit it. So Petrovic Petrovic in the pool. I'm going to have Rondon. I'm having Virgil and Hill. For midfield, I'll be considering the likes of Bruno, Gordon, Rogers, Wilson, and Drewsbury Hall. For attacking, I'm going to be looking at Higo and Thiago. These are my top choices for the game week. So I'm captaining Higo. So if you want your captaincy choice, very important, you should be looking at these players as well. You could easily consider Higo from Liverpool. You could consider Thiago from Brentford as your top captaincy choices. And if you want differentials, you could be looking at Gordon because now he seems to be the man behind the goals for or the returns for Newcastle. So you could consider him as he's also on penalty duty. So that would be a plus for you. If they are to get in some returns, you could get a few good returns from him. And Wilson, of course, they are taking on this very weak Burnley side at home. So differentials, I'll be looking at Wilson from Fulham and Gordon from Newcastle. Then for my main choices, you'll be looking at Higo from Liverpool and Thiago from Brentford. So this is how I was looking for captaincy choices. Let me know in the comments who you also consider giving your captaincy to and what your plans are heading into game week 31 and beyond. I hope for greens for all.